a very, very heavy fall.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Martin Muay Thai, your question is first, so it's out the way for me, buddy. Team Meehan, how are you, bud? Just waiting for Paul to come in. All right, guess who? Walter Whitty, how are you, bud? Stay blessed. All right, let me put a link in for you, Paul. The link there for you, bub. Good evening, Mark Ryan. How are you? It's good to hear, Tony. I'm good, Mark Ryan. Thank you. How are you?
Always.
Yes, Paul. How you doing?
Tired, mate. Been a busy day, but I'm all right. All right, how are you?
What have you been doing? Training? What? Just working?
Nah, mate. I was flat out this morning, and I've been in a tattoo shop for the last 5-6 hours. Painful getting tired.
Paul, the first thing I'm going to ask you is for Mr. Martin Muay Thai, the list. Let's start with the. Can you see it first of all?
Yeah.
All right. So for Martin Muay Thai, what do you make of that, Paul?
I think I like the guy.
Can't argue with it, can you? You're on top of everything, so.
Bless him,
Mark. With that, Paul?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
There you go, Martin Muay Thai. That's one out of the way. Do you want it back up?
Yeah, 2 seconds. I was just checking where he's put himself. Martin puts himself quite high as well, doesn't he? I've seen him training like he's big. He's a big lump, isn't he?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
I think he fancies it with you, Paul.
To be fair, mate, you know what? I class him as a friend. He speaks to me a lot. And, you know, he drops me a lot of messages on Instagram. A lot of positive stuff come from him. You know, and you know, I have a lot of respect for the guy. He's always dead respectful and dead sound and that. And you know, I respect him back. And I'm going to put a little bit out there. I'm not sure we've spoke about it, put it out there, but I think we are going to spar. I think he wants to come down and spar. And you know, he's a big lump and he's heavyweight and he's nothing but respect for me, like you know, but.
Yeah.
Listen, this is not a problem at all. We can sort that out. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's in the Philip. Where are you, Martin? You're somewhere. You're miles away. So it's an long aeroplane journey. But fair play to you if you're coming over here for that. There's people that won't even go from London to fucking face him.
Yeah. He's in Thailand, isn't he? I think he's in Thailand, isn't he?
Paul. When did you very first go into a gym and start training, mate?
2 seconds, mate. Sorry, mate. Do that again.
How old was you when you first went to a gym and did any form of training?
So I was about 16, 17 when I started lifting. See, my dad was an old school bodybuilder, so. When I left school, I was just being a naughty lad, and I was getting kicked out of all the football teams, and I was failing drug tests, and my dad sort of says, listen, like, why don't you just come to the gym, start lifting, and get rid of that fucking anger or whatnot. So I started going and training and lifting, and I absolutely loved it because, again, it was just like, it made me feel comfortable, it made me feel like a drug, in it. Do you know what I mean? You become addicted instantly. The moment I started seeing a change in my body, I started getting stronger. I was bigger. You know, didn't do my ego any good, like living on them streets, lifting weights. And because eventually I started taking steroids around about 18, 19-year-old. You know, dibbling down with a few Dianabol and stuff like that. It was just, I just went massive, like big. I got a big old lump for like a 17, 18-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
How did you do at school? Did you do well, or was you in trouble at school?
Yeah, I got kicked out of school and stuff like that. I was just a tea leaf. I was a proper tea leaf class clown, and I was just I was horrible. I was a horrible child. Not so much a nasty child, but I didn't do very well, to be, let's just say that.
Did you see the effect steroids had on you? What, like with your mood and everything like that?
Yeah, but so how it worked out that is when I was young, and I was getting heavily into weightlifting. I think my dad spotted it, but was like, look, like where you want to take this, like how you feel, because I was strong and I was obsessed with it. You know what I mean? Like I suppose anything that changes the way I feel or anything that makes me feel good, I'm instantly addicted to. Hence the reason why I was only married time before I got addicted to drugs. You know what I mean? But with the weightlifting, my dad spotted it from a mile off and knew which road I was going to go down and just sat me down and educated me around steroids, educated me very well, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? And always says, look, are you going to take them? I says, probably, yeah. So he always told me, he said, listen, you don't need to take shit loads, take a little bit, have double time off, do a cycle, have 2 months off, do a cycle, have another 2 months off. He always, so I didn't really take the piss with him because the way he educated me around it, I didn't need to because I took them properly. But the side effects were anger issues, that racing head, a little bit of didn't do my mental health or my disease of addiction any good. Let me say that. Do you know what I mean? If anything, it heightened it. It changed me. Eventually, it started to change me because your body becomes used to it. There's a lot more testosterone running through your body, and sometimes emotions can be hard to control when you're on it.
How long would you say you was on the steroids for, Bob?
I don't know. I mean, right up till I went to prison. When I went to prison, I think I was about 19, 20, and I was taking steroids all the way through the unlicensed boxing stuff that I was doing. And when I went to prison, I stopped. And when I got out, I didn't bother. I started fighting straight away when I got out of prison. Like I fell straight into a mixed martial arts gym. I already had a little bit of boxing behind me, but not much. But I become instantly glued on being a professional, and I knew what that entailed, which was blood tests, drug tests, medicals, all that stuff. So I never bothered. I didn't really lift weights back then as well. I was just more cardio, punching and kicking. Do you know what I mean? So the weight sort of got put back on like behind me in a sense.
Yeah. In the build-up to going to prison and when you went there, how did you deal with that for 19? Because 19 is still quite young, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was because by the time I was 19 now, I was sort of ravaged by addiction. I was using every day. So I can't. I was prepared I was prepared for prison. I was prepared to die. Do you know what I mean? Through my disease of addiction, it was, do or die. That's exactly how I lived. I was doing some horrific things to get what I needed. I'd become like a bit of a ruthless addict, if you say the least. And I sort of prepared to either die or go to prison. Do you know what I mean? So when I went to prison, it was just one of them, like a shrug of the shoulders. I'm in there. As months went on, that's when it starts to realise, like, shit, like I'm potentially going to be in here for a very long time. You know what I mean? You start to miss your kids, you start to miss your wife.
Would you say that's what started you off fighting? Would you say that's what started you off with the amateur fighting and into the pro from coming out of prison?
Yes, when I got out of prison, I was sort of like, I wasn't expecting to turn pro. I just wanted to stay off the streets, stay out of certain circles, and just I wanted to change. You know what I mean? I didn't like being the bad guy. I didn't like being the fucking down and out junkie. I didn't like being a shit person. So when I got out, there was a new gym called Impact Martial Arts, and it wasn't there before I went to prison. And when I got out of prison, it was there, and it was the new of me, the new people in my family and stuff like that. So I'm like, look, if you want to come here, I was skint. I didn't have no money. I got out with nothing. Do you know what I mean? They were like, look, if you want to come here, you can train here free of charge. Just keep off the streets. Try and do well. So I was like, all right, come. So I started going, and within 2 or 3 months, I was just fucking flying, like absolutely flying. Like I loved it. I loved the K1, like the leg kicks and I was learning quickly, and You know, it was like water off a duck's back to me, if I'm being honest. You know, I knew this is what I was always meant to do. I was just meant to fight and compete, like man to man. Do you know what I mean? Like, all that football, all the other stuff that I did, you know, it wasn't really meant for me. This is what was meant for me. And yeah, I just fell into it, mate. And I was sparring with all the decent lads out, and you know, my coach says, "Look, do you want to turn pro?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely, turn me pro." That was it.
Did you know from that very first session you did that you were going to stick with that? Because it's obviously, it's hard sometimes, isn't it? Routine is something we all struggle with, isn't it?
So I always remember I walked in, right, and this guy won't mind me mentioning him. He's called Leaf Taggart. And Leaf is a 60, 70 kilo fighter. Has a dead squeaky voice. If you see him walking down the streets, trust me, you wouldn't even know the kid's a fucking killer. He's an animal, absolute animal. And he come up to me and he was like, "Hey, Benny, you all right?" Talking to me like, "Hey, mate, you all right?" I'm Leaf and blah, blah, blah. He went, "What you like taking leg kicks?" He was tiny. I went, "I'd be sound." And he walloped me in the leg with a kick. I was like, "Whoa, you little bastard." And I felt like grabbing him, to be fair, but it never left me. And that I was instantly in love with leg kicks. I thought, wow, you know, my leg was dead for about a week, and he only kicked me once with his shin, but it was fast and it was effortless. And I just said to him instantly, "Teach me that." And I started doing one-to-ones with him. And, you know, Leaf Taggart, he was absolute unbelievable fighter, especially on the UK scene. He was unbelievable. And I started training with him, and he started showing me all the new techniques. You know, because I did have a bit of a boxing background around the unlicensed, but I didn't take it very seriously. I was just fighting for money. That's all I was, just a prize fighter. And so it was a bit difficult to step from your traditional boxing stance where you're dead thin, you make yourself thin and you have a wider stance. Then I had to switch from the K1 stand, to the K1 stance where you're more square on, so you can check kicks. And your balance is better when you kick. So I struggled with that for a little bit, but once I found it, that was it. You know, I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Do you remember much about your very first fight you
had? The very first fight was, I think it was an unlicensed boxing fight. The very first arranged fight in a ring. Was one of Tony Robbo's shows on EBF Promotions, it was called. And I boxed a lad called Billy Maxwell, and I always remember being slow and nervous. I don't know that fight, and you know, you don't get the chance to feel nervous when you're in a pub or you're on the streets or whatever. But I knew I had something. I knew I could win this guy, and you know, the guy had a little bit of boxing background from the army and stuff like that. And I was just up for it, even though I was frightened and I felt nervous. You know, I always remembered something that my mum always said. You know, when I was starting to make a reputation for myself, and you know, I was angry and I was getting into fights. She always says to me, "Are you nervous?" I went, "Aye, a little bit, yeah." Are you afraid? I went, "Yeah." She went, "Never let go of that because it'll keep you dangerous."
Yeah.
You know, and I always remembered being in the change rooms every fight. This was every fight, and just being nervous but excited at the same time, and then nerves and that fear. It wasn't a nerves or fear of the man. It was just nerves and fear of losing, nerves and fear of getting beat. You know, and when I got into that ring, it changed to something like, you know, I'm never in this world am I going to allow this man to beat me. You know, I'm never in this world I'm going to get knocked out. And it was just adrenaline rush and all excitement. But the very first fight that I ever had was, it was a difficult situation because, you know, I was still ravaged by addiction. I was still ravaged by ego and reputation. So it was a little bit different to, you know, how we got when I turned professional, to be fair.
When you were professional, did you leave a totally clean life from everything, or?
Yeah. When I got out of prison, you know, I struggled for the first few weeks, you know, because certain situations, you know, you got out of prison, you're trying to leave all that life behind, and it was hard. It was hard to say. It was hard, but when I went into the gym and started turning pro, I felt like it gave me structure. You know, it gave me purpose. It gave me something to do. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I had the full backing of my family, and I was trying to become something and doing something good, and I knew I could achieve something doing this here. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I just sort of solely focused on that, on fighting. I didn't even have no social media, no Facebook, no, nothing. All I was doing was just fighting. That was it.
When you stopped fighting, did your mental health get worse?
No, not. I don't know. I've always struggled. I've always battled with my own. I suppose it did because I started to realise maybe I might not fight again. I started getting fat. I started getting unfit. I was, yeah, I suppose it did a little bit.
How many KOs did you get, Paul? I can't find the exact figure. There's quite a few, isn't there?
How many what?
Knockouts in that knockout highlight reel we've got.
So this is all in all. I had 32 fights, and all in all, there was 31 knockouts.
Wow.
But when I say this number, and I make this clear, that's like unlicensed little shows, fighting in pubs, fighting. When I say fighting in pubs, I mean properly in rings and like properly arranged fights and stuff like that. But all in all, my professional record, it was only 18 or 19 fights that I had in K1.
Can you pinpoint like a highlight of your fighting career, or is there like a lot?
So, my favourite time of my career, the best part, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Do you know what? My favourite time and my favourite fight, I feel like my biggest achievement was against a guy called Cal Eward. Cal Eward had been beat once or twice, but he was a highly improved fighter when I fought him. He was 6'7", 6'8", fucking mountain of a man, scary man, muscles bulging everywhere. He had a decent name for himself, and it was for the WK British title, which is my favourite belt. I have got a European title and a world title, ICO. But this WK was to do with the British rankings, and that's why it's my favourite belt, because I knew this was going to catapult me straight into the top 10. Maybe it's the top 5, can't remember. But I knew this is where I thought I'm going to land on the map if I beat this fight, if I win this fight. And I'm not kidding you, when I went into the win, it was fucking intimidating. No, it was massive, muscles bulging everywhere, 115 kilos, and I was barely 96 kilos. The guy was a man mouth. He was sound like he was looking at that, and then when on the night of the fight, I was so nervous and so fearful. But man, I wanted it. I was so hungry. I just knew nothing was going to get in the way that night, and it was just. Yeah, it was just one of my favourite time of K1 fight.
So, you had, to be fair, you had probably the most successful K1 career, unlicensed K1, out of probably anyone who's done it in England. Am I right on that one? I don't think there's anyone with that many knockouts.
I think there's still one thing in climbing the top 10 now, some new fighters. There's some absolute good fighters. Arnold Alberton, Mick Terrell was a fantastic fighter. I think he was light heavyweight, but he was coming up to heavyweight. I was meant to fight Mick Terrell as well. I think he had something wrong with his knee. I don't know, but there was a lot of. I dare say there was a lot of fighters in that division at the time that would, had the tools to beat me. Especially Mick Terrell anyway, the way he fought. It would have been a very exciting fight for me. He's from Newcastle as well, and he was number 1 on the light heavyweight, I think so. He had all the tools to beat me, all the tools, because he was a stick and move. He was hard to hit. But I had every ounce of confidence in my ability to be able to beat the guy.
What was the decision to fire, Paul? What was the decision to retire? Sorry.
So we got an email off Glory K1, which was my goal. My goal to fight in K1 was to become a millionaire. To buy nice things and to have a nice life. That was no point. As soon as I broke the top 10, I landed sponsorship deals that people could dream of. I was getting 3 or 4 grand a month, parents just for sat in the house, just for training. I was getting holidays paid for. It was mad. I landed right on my feet because I bumped into a guy who was a millionaire. He went to school with my dad. And long story short, I was set for life. You know what I mean? Everything was bang on. So Glory K1 messaged us, and this was it. This was my big break. I was so excited. I thought, Sam, you talk about 6-figure contracts here. Do you know what I mean? Fair play. I would have been fighting some fucking real monsters. Your Bada Harrys and your Ricos, and maybe I might not have stood a chance against them. But I tell you what, I'd die trying. That's 100% I would have. But even just to be in their presence would have been a fucking dream come true. You know, it just would have been amazing. So anyway, they emailed me and asked me what I was up to. That you know, they were following my career, and you know, they were looking into taking me on. So they asked me some details and stuff. So I sent them a few details over and that. And about a month went by, and the email back and says we're not interested. Paul's got a lifetime finance man. He's only been out of prison for 4 years. Oh man, it was fucking heart wrenching, absolutely heart wrenching. You know, it brought me out, to be fair, because I thought, wow, she wouldn't want to do it now. You know, so they wouldn't entertain me. You know, by this time as well, I was like number 3 in the UK. There was Daniel Sam in front of me, and the guy who was number 1 I'd already beat. The guy who was number 1 in the division I'd already beat. You know, so I was like, fuck's sake, man, what do I do when I get to number 1? That's it. You know, is my career over? I'm only fucking 25. So I just thought, you know what? I just lost all the ability to carry on. I think I had another 2 fights after that. That was it. I was done. I was absolutely done. I thought, I'm never going to fucking fulfill my dream of becoming a millionaire. So what am I doing this for? You know?
Wow. We spoke the other week. I think between us, we spoke on the Fuse last week or the week before, and you said you're a bit hungry for like a bare knuckle fight. You're getting a bit of hunger for it. Is that still the case?
It is. Listen. So I'll just put it out here now. I got offered the fight to fight on the same show with Danny Christie against a big old Polish dude. Watched some. I know lads down there who know him down south and all that, and know spar with him and that. And they got word of it and said, like, they knew. They thought, listen, he's a tough man, but I don't think he'll live with you. And I was like, I was well up for it. I definitely wanted the fight. It was good money. But the other half put her foot down and was like, nah, I don't want to live that life with you again. You know, she's had such a fucking crazy life with me. And I need her on board. So I just says, look, I'm going to miss this one, but let me see what I can do. So I'm trying to convince her now. Because I'm ready, I'm fit, I train every day, I can fight tomorrow, do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I need the blessings from my family first, you know what I mean?
Paul, I'm going to go back a little bit now. I'm going to go back to November last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not have known you if they didn't know K1 or whatever before the Danny Christie fight. Obviously, I certainly did. But you took Danny down. You become Danny Christie's fair play man. I spoke to Danny about this. What I wanted to ask you is, when you got to that gym and you walked in the gym, how was you feeling? Because you didn't know either way whether it was going to go good, bad. Did you trust them?
I trusted Dougie. You know, I'd met Dougie. I'd spoke to Dougie. You know, I already knew Dougie. Dougie knew me. I knew Dougie. And there was a lot of respect there with one another. You know, so I didn't trust him. Yeah. You know, I didn't really. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Not one ounce of me knew that. Not one ounce of me thought, this is Serbia. This is Serbia. But you know, it tries to creep in. You know, but what if it is? What if it is? But I think if it is, it is, isn't it? Fuck it, innit? You know, I'm on my way down. I'm fucking standing by my guy. And if it is, and it is a sell, then I'll fucking die trying to fucking get him out of it. We'll both fucking get at it. This is what it is, isn't it? That's your point of it. But I respected Dougie too much, and I know you've got too much respect for me, and I knew he would never have gone down like that because I know he spoke to him. So,
when you were going there, did you think Danny had a chance against Decker? I mean, obviously, a lot of people didn't, including probably most of the people that were in the gym.
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did. Do you think I would go down with someone who's going to get flattened? Like?
No, because I think because you loved him. Even if you didn't think he'd win, you'd still go with him, wouldn't you?
No, I don't know. Because listen, you've got to remember, if you're someone's fair play man, you've got to have confidence in them. You know,
definitely.
You know, you've got to have confidence in them. You've got to trust them in their abilities. You know, I'm not just going to go down with some lad who wants to fight with someone, and I would tell him straight, I'm not backing you in that. You're well, you league here, you're going to get destroyed. Do you know what I mean? I'm get fucking smashed up. You know, not that it's embarrassing for me, but that just, I think, if I'm there to be your fair play man, you know, you need to trust me, and I'm going to be honest with you. You're like, you're not ready for that. You're not good enough for that. Simple.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Obviously,
When
you
I
and
was
Danny
younger
have got
down
a
there,
life bond now.
sorry, mate, go on.
Obviously, you and Danny have got a life bond now because of that incident,
Well,
because of that.
me
Just
and
that
Danny had
fight.
never met. Yeah, I agree with that. Me and Danny had never met. But we spoke a lot. You know, even though we'd never met, it was still there. Do you know what I mean? Before this, you know, maybe it's not as tight as it is now. You know, we have shared a special moment, if you say that. You know, and it is obviously tighter now. And you know, I love the man. Do you know what I mean? He's my friend and brother for life. You know, but he kind of was before we even met anyway, because of the words we'd swapped. You know, the respect we had for each other. It was only a matter of time before we met, but meeting on them circumstances, I think, made it a little bit extra special, wasn't it? You know. So
100. A lot of your training now. What are you doing? Are you bodybuilding again now, Paul? Or are you doing cardio as well?
Nah. Well, I am lifting now. I'm not lifting so much as heavy as I used to, but I'm still trying to keep a bit of muscle on us. I am lifting. But I'm also hitting bags, hitting pads, sparring. You know, I'm training hard. I'm putting everything together.
If you go on BKFC, what's it, August, did you say? Or did you know the next date for it yet?
Well, it was the one that Danny's fighting on.
July, that is.
Yes, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one you was going to fight on, or?
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to fight on. Yeah, well, they offered me the fight, so I was like, yeah, like, let me speak to my wife first. You know, I want to speak to my wife. And I want to do it. You know, I'm ready to. Like, I want to fight again. I want to compete again. You know, I want to have one last run at it. Of course, I do. Whether it be bare knuckle, whether it be boxing, whether it be K1, I just want to get in and compete again. You know, I feel the fire's relit, but it's not fully lit, because it never will be fully lit unless my wife and kids are on board. No, my daughter's 18 now. You know, she's a little bit worried as well. You know, so it's one of them things. They've got
out of the three of them, boxing, K1, and bare knuckle. What would you say is the easiest on the body? Boxing.
Boxing, yeah. Boxing easy, yeah.
Are you actually thinking about doing K1 again? Do you think about that sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah. Mate, our gym. Listen, the gym that I work in, the gym that I'm training with the lads in there, they all have ties with one championship. You know, our coach Nathan Boyce has got a connection with one championship. We could get on there. You know, they pay big money. You know, it's a massive organisation. You know, if we want to, you know, there's plenty of us in that gym who are at a level where we could compete on there. Do you know what I mean? We've just had a lad fight on there 2 months ago. Yeah, he got beat, but he's still got another fight, and he gets paid big money. And heavyweight, you know. So,
would you say the K1 scene's bigger now than when you was like involved with it? Is there a lot more shows now? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look how big Muay Thai and K1 is now. Do you know what I mean? Like, one championship has just took over, or just surpassed UFC.
Yeah.
Has been one of the biggest money earners in combat sports. You know, their lads are leaving UFC to go one championship to get paid more. They're getting bigger pays. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's constantly Muay Thai, K1. You know, it's a mixture of MMA. It's absolutely brilliant. K1 is massive now. When I was doing it, no one knew what it was. But you had to say kickboxing. You know, but it's not kickboxing, because when you say kickboxing, you think of the trousers and, you know, guards or whatever. But K1 kickboxing is totally different. Totally different.
How's I don't really want to speak too much, because I see you've been up and down the last few weeks with, you know, would you say mental health or like addiction, both?
Yeah. So with my mental health and addiction come on. Addiction is a mental health disease. You know, it's in the brain. That's what it is. You know, so that's why I always know that I'm a mental health sufferer, because of my disease of addiction that I was born with. This is what I suffer with. You know, YouTube, as an addict, I can, and I hate myself for doing this. I can focus more on negative than I do on positive, and my head will run away with it. My head, all these comments that I get on my videos, which I'm so grateful for, so nice to read, but like, so it makes me smile, it makes me happy when I'm reading these nice comments. But see, when I see one negative comment saying something irrelevant about me or something stupid, it fucking gets me. It does me head in. I'm better now. That's why I left YouTube. I come away from it because of scrolling through it and just seeing people arguing and getting exposed, and I'm thinking, fucking hell. And I was starting to feel sorry for the people who these people were talking about. Do you know what I mean? Because I thought, well, fucking hell, like it was. I just started feeling bad watching it all. You know,
it can be quite dark at times, YouTube, can't it?
Of course it can. Of course it can. See, before I started doing YouTube, my feed on YouTube was just boxing knockouts, K1 knockouts, wildlife, Jesus stuff, you know, seminars and talks about addiction. That's all it was about. Now, if I scroll through my YouTube, it's fucking him exposing him calling him out, you know, and all these channels, you know, like I was subscribed to, obviously, and I was thinking, I was kind of nothing, you know, and I thought I can't be watching this anymore. It's not doing me any good. So that's why I come away from it for a few weeks. And now that I've come back, I'm all right now. You know, I'm perfectly fine. You know, I've come to realise that YouTube YouTube gives people who don't have the physical ability to be able to do anything. It's give these bullies a platform to be able to sit behind the camera, you know, 7 foot, 6 stone, you know, and being able to say bad shit about people like myself or you or, you know, Danny Christie, because they'll never be able to do that when it comes to the physical way. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially with you. Probably wouldn't be so much worried about me, but you, they definitely was.
No, but against most people, see, you got to remember, if when there's one finger point, there's always 3 pointing back. You know, and I've started to see these people for what they are. You know, if someone wants to mention my name and start making accusations and telling lies about me, you know, I can giggle and laugh now because I see it for what it is. You know, I just see it for the comedy reasons and the way the reasons they do it. You know, and it is what it is. You know, I'm even after to start having a bit of banter and a bit of fun back and start calling them names and making accusations about them. But then I think, do you know what? If even that's just taking too much energy, too much of my time. You know, I don't need to do that, but it's not affecting me as bad as it was. That's what I suppose I'll come back stronger.
With the charity thing, I think you said a little way through, didn't you? You didn't realise how hard it was to start one.
Listen, I can everything that people say about, like Dr. Rackle saying I'm on drugs and I'm on steroids. So if I'd have watched that weeks ago, it affected me and I'd want to drive to London. Where now I actually take it as a compliment because I think, like, I must look like I'm on steroids. Nice one, mate. You know, I do train hard, so something's working. You know, and the drugs thing, you know, I am an addict. You know, everyone knows that I used to be a down and out fucking druggie. You know, I've took drugs, I shared it myself. So for him to call me a druggie or assume that I'm on drugs, again, just cheers me up because I think, well, I know I'm not, so I'm doing something right. You know, maybe you know, you need to have a good look at what you're taking or what he's doing. You know, I think, bless him. But perfectly fine, mate, perfectly fine, but all, to be honest.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's a lot of people there that argue, and I think some of them have got mental health. You probably shouldn't go on YouTube if you're feeling mentally down or anything. It ain't a good place, is it?
It's not. It's not. But the whole point of me, see, listen, my YouTube feed's changed now. So I can come on YouTube, you know. I like your channels where you're talking about fighting. I know there's another guy called Boxing Inquiries. I've been listening to him last few weeks. You know, there's certain channels that I'm subscribed to now that, you know, that'll come up in my feeds. There's no one fucking exposing anyone or anything like that. If it does pop up, I click not interested, so I can't see it now. You know, it's not there for me. So everything's good. You know, when I'm coming on YouTube, I think, people need to hear me and what I've got to say about the way I struggle and the way I fucking do. Some days I can wake up and not want to be here. Do you know what I mean? Some days I can wake up and want to fucking drown my face in a load of fucking cocaine or in a crack pipe or whatever. But you know what? I don't. You know, I say I'm clean. You know, I've got a life, got my wildest dreams. And when I say that, I don't mean I'm a millionaire or anything like that. I just mean I'm employable. You know, I'm a good husband. I'm a good dad. I do my best to be a good man. You know, I can do all them things. So I think there's a reason why I can do it. And that's because of God. That's because of fellowship, Narcotics Anonymous 12-step program. You know, people don't know about this. So this is why I have to come on YouTube and say, listen, this is the crack. This is what I suffer with. This is how I am. and this is what helps me, you know. So
fair play.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I had a lot. I get a lot of messages. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know I've only got, mate, I haven't got many followers on Instagram, but you wouldn't believe how many people I speak to and how many people message me. You know, and it's fucking really. I'm really grateful for it because I only keep what I have by giving it away. You know, if someone messages me and says, "I'm struggling, I feel down," then I won't just go, "I'm sorry about that" or whatever. I'll fucking tell them exactly how I feel when I'm that way and what helps me, what to do. You know, maybe I'll go into a bit of a conversation with them. Why do you feel down? What's what? You know, and then I can zone in. I can help and think, fucking hell, Paul, you've been here. You know what that feels like. You know, so I can just be as honest as possible. So when I come off YouTube for the weeks that I did, again, I was going through messages and people were like, listen, like, you know, there was one message that got me. You know, he says, listen, I watched one of your videos a couple of weeks ago, and the night before I watched it, I was looking for somewhere to hang a rope. He says, today, after watching your video, I feel like I need to reach out. And he messaged me on Instagram, and I started talking to him. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
Sky, you know, I you know, what can you say to that? Do you know what I mean? I just thought, nah, look, I always says to myself, if I get a million people hating on me, one person gets off on what I'm saying, then I'll be on here all the time. Fuck it. I'll just share my shit whenever I feel like I'll just do it. I just think, fuck it, I'm not bothered. Anyone who's got an opinion on me or makes accusations about me, I couldn't give a shit. I'm going to come on here, I'm going to speak my mind, I'm not trying to carry a message.
thank you, Paul.
No problem, brother.
They're very, very interesting. Anyone got any questions for Paul?
Have you got many in life? Many been watching?
About 80 there was. Don't forget the cesspit and the other one going, mate. You know, people don't like positivity, do they?
Nah, sometimes people get.
I prefer EastEnders and correlation stuff. Right, here we go. I'm gutted watching the fight, but so Brownlee, yes, big boy in the bit. Snow Malone. Shout out Venis and fight talk from Snow Malone. Pretty boy Paul, yeah, he's a good looking fella, isn't he?
How much respect to that question there? Oh, sorry, big shout out to Sam. Big shout out to Sam. Yeah, what there was a question there. How much steroids did everyone take? What do you mean by that? You just put it on the screen. Yeah, because sometimes if it's a genuine question, like how much steroids does someone take or whatever, you know.
No, I don't think. Look, let's have a look.
I've seen it. Seen the question.
People have to make their own journey, but Paul Venis, you make your own journey.
That's exactly all I was going to say is it's whatever works for you, mate. You know, how can I tell someone why would take steroids or what not? I'd rather tell everyone, don't take them. You know, really, you don't really need them, do you, to be fair. Just cheating.
I heard more tonight than earlier in the other one. Respect, Paul. Any questions, or are we just going to give him respect, everyone? Someone must have a question for Paul Venis. We've got the best K1 fighter we've ever had in this country in the world.
Oh, I wouldn't say it that way. I don't know about that.
In your weight division.
Yeah. That's decent, yeah.
Paul, will you make? Is that a genuine question? Will you make Sammy a Palmer?
Will you make Sammy a Palmer? I've read that something. Someone's asking me to make you a Palmer.
What is that?
Just that a Palmer is a chicken Palmer. So it's cheese.
Okay.
Have you never had that? Do you not know what one is?
No.
It's a Middlesbrough thing, right? So it's a chicken breast in it, battered on Sammy, then you oil it, then you breadcrumb it, then you put it in the oven, then you put bechamel sauce and cheese over the top. You melt it and it comes out. Mate, Google it, chicken Palmer. Google it, mate, and have a look. Unbelievable. It's a Middlesbrough thing. How long ago was it? I don't make anything like Palmer. Yeah, I don't cook me, mate. The only thing I can make is scrambled egg.
How do you train to kick so hard, Paul?
It's technique, you see, with anything. How do you train to fling a right hand? How do you train to fling a left hook? It's just drilling it, you know, technique. You know, I found that coming from a football background, I always wanted to try and kick as hard as I could. But I found that the more I relaxed and sat down and pivoted and brought my hip over, it was effortless power. You know, like like you don't kick something, you sort of whip it, you whip your leg. So it becomes like a bamboo stick would, like, that's how you do it. You just try and whip it.
Who would he have lived to fight? Sam, what do you mean? Like, who would he like to fight out of anyone? Did you ever come across Nick the Headhunter Chapman in K1?
Nick the Headhunter Chapman. Why do I know that name?
He runs BKFC Thailand, I think. He used to have a gym called Fight Science. Oh, nice.
That name rings a bell. I think I know that name. Do you know what? The fight that I always wanted when I was fighting was a lad called Daniel Sam. He was huge, big dark lad, massive he was, and he was fighting on Glory at the time. You know, and I just knew, I thought, and he was number 2 and bouncing from 1 and 2 in the UK, but he was always fighting for Glory. I just thought, wow, I'd love to beat him, you know, and then hopefully that help me back on the Glory or whatever. What's the worst injury? Worst injury? Broken hand. Not the worst. But I say that I had to get operations on my hand all the time, so I think I had about 7 or 8 operations on my hand, and it was just constantly painful. And I mean, I've had broken noses and shit like that, but actually cheap one and all that crap. But should they start? But
on the flip side to that, what's the worst injury you've ever given to someone? Like in a K1, because them kicks, mate, they are lethal, aren't they?
Yeah. The worst injury I ever gave someone was in an unlicensed boxing fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know where your teeth joint there? I snapped his jaw there, so his teeth and all that were moved, like split, all there. I just hit him with I think the fight on YouTube actually. Only like the bell goes, I walk out and I just hit him straight away. I hit him with a pillar, and he was just like all his jaw was just snapped down the bottom there, and he was all caged up and that for months.
What was you doing? Well. Ticket sales? When you was doing a license, was it all based on ticket sales for the money and that?
No.
You were getting a purse.
I used to get a decent purse, yeah, because of
hardest fight, Paul.
Pardon me?
Hardest fight.
Hardest fight.
Life.
Gary,
have you lost a bone in your shin through kicking, mate?
Nah, I haven't lost no bones. But what you do is, I was conditioning for about 3 years. I was twatting in the woods, like rolling pins and fucking twatting all the time. You know, just to kill. What you do is you kill your nerves on your shin bone, and you put little fractures in your bone. And when you put little fractures in your shin, what happens is it doesn't just seize back, like cracks don't just heal back together. You get another layer of bone over that crack. So your shin has like all lumps and shit like that on it, but it conditions it, kills all the nerves and that.
Do they hurt? Do your shins hurt now?
No, my shins are sound.
No, they're alright, yeah?
Yeah, my shins are sound, but it was just the build up to doing that fucking heads.
I don't know whether Paul would have seen that fight, but do you think the fella Brett May fought last week? Couldn't really tell, could you?
I haven't seen it, mate. I haven't seen it.
I didn't think you would have.
I mean, I think I mentioned this the other day on was it? I thought no, it was Boxing Inquiries. He says Brett Mays took the fight that I was going to take at the Wembley, the BKFC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seen it up there. So Brett took that fight, and I respectfully just says, look, I think this is a fight that Brett won't win. You know, but respect to him, taking the fight. Good luck, you know. So, yeah.
3D fight.
Pardon me?
Sorry, bud. I think there's a bit of a delay here. Who would you have loved to fight and why? That's 3D Fight Club.
Who would I have loved to fight and why? I think, you know what, the fight that I should have done, that I missed out, that I should have pushed for, just because I think it would have done good numbers, and just because I'm a genuine fan of the lad, Mick Terrell. I think that fight between me and him should have happened to Mick Terrell. You know, the guy's a fucking legend, like, at the moment now. He's still bearing up there, and he's still, you know, he was fucking, at the time I was up and coming, and he was like the top. But when the fight emerged of me and him, you know, I was on my way out. You know, I'd lost all that stuff with Glory had happened, and I was on my way out, so I was fucking sick. So it never really happened, but I just think that fight should have happened. You know, that was one of my massive regrets anyway, not letting that fight happen.
So your day-to-day job is like personal trainer?
Yes. Yeah. I'm a PT trainer, yeah.
So you do one-to-ones, is it? Like one-to-ones or like group ones?
I run your class with women in boxing shit like, do you know what I mean, with my mum and a couple of other people, but mainly one-to-ones, one-to-one PT training.
Oh, right. See, so I would like to see you in BKP. BKB, I think a lot of us are wanting to see that one, aren't we?
Yeah. If I'm being honest, I think if I do convince her to come back, I think my first comeback fight will probably be the bare knuckle. I think it's tailor made for me. You know, I have some fucking right hard bastards in there, you know, tough as they come. They're all fucking animals. Do you know what I mean? I think I could. I think it's tailor made for me. I think no punching with no gloves on. He's just going to add power, and I think I think I'd do well in it. I'm looking forward to watching Danny Christie in it anyway.
Would you fight on one of the British shows, BKB, or would it have to be BKFT?
If I was going to fight BKB or bare knuckle or whatever show it was, I wouldn't be asked what show it was. As long as the paying right, then I would fight. If I was getting good money, then I would fight. That's what it all comes down to when you're my age now, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
What do you think, Paul? Because there's a lot of up and down about what's the minimum you think someone should do a bare knuckle boxing fight for, even for their first fight, even? How much do you reckon? Because there's more chance of injury in this than most stuff, isn't there? Facial injuries anyway, and hand injuries.
Mate, the only thing I would ever be worried about a friend or myself fighting a bare knuckle is my hands. That's it. You know, yeah. I'm not afraid of getting punched. I've been hit with hammers, I've been hit with bats, I've been punched in the face, kicked in the face, all that stuff. I just think I'm not worried about getting hit or all like that. It's my hands. You know, if you hit someone on the forehead as hard as you can with a fucking big hook or an uppercut, right in the forehead there, your hands are fucked, man. Fucked.
Yeah, remember Prince Nazim Hamid? That was what was wrong with him in the end. He hit with such power, didn't he? He kept breaking his hands.
That's what I'm saying. And it's the only thing that, I think, oh, fuck. You know, my hands are already fucking a bit battered and that, do you know what I mean? I just think that I've managed to get away with my hands, to be fair. I've had a couple of cortisone injections and I've had a couple of fucking operations and stuff, but yeah, my hands. I'm just focused. Danny's comment took me off there. Yes, brother. Love you, Dan. Big shout out to you, brother.
Yeah, big shout out, Danny. I hope you're all right, bro. This is good because there's so many questions. Normally there's only a few. Sam, you're a bit of a Venis fan, aren't you? Has there ever been a small, good fighter like 5 foot?
Yeah, Mike Zambidas. Mike Zambidas. I think he was about 5'1", 5'2". Fucking little beast. He my favourite ever fighter. Him. Go YouTube him. He's unbelievable.
Oh, if you've got a fight for BKFC in 3 months, yeah, would you change any of the training you're doing at the moment for that bare knuckle?
Yeah, of course I would. I would box more. I'm still sparring kicking. I do spar boxers. I do spar boxing. No, but I like the K1 better, so I tend to enjoy kicking more. So my square stance is my favourite stance. You know, so I probably try K1 more. But if I was going to do the bare knuckle, then I would switch it. I wouldn't do no K1, no kicking. It would all be boxing. All be boxing.
What weight would you be at BKFC roughly if you were going to do it? What weight would you want to fight at? Would you try and drop weight or
heavy as possible?
Heavy as possible, yeah. So a lot of people would try and drop weight, wouldn't they?
Pardon me?
A lot of people would try and drop down to as small as they could, you know? Or most of some people.
Yeah, but to be fair, mate, listen, I stand up, walking around, not lifting more weights, not doing anything. I walk around about 105 kilos, 104 kilos. So I am naturally heavy. like naturally a fucking big lad. I'm just short.
So losing weight before a fight has never really been much of an issue to you. What do you think of the people in the UFC that sometimes kill themselves before weighing just to get to the weight?
That's it, mate. Well, listen, I would probably, my natural, if I was to train and lose a lot of weight and still be healthy, I think without a weight cut, I think it would be light heavyweight for me. But because I struggled when I used to fight and compete and train the way I did, I struggled staying above super heavyweight. I really struggled. You know, sometimes I would stand on the scales a pound heavier, just over the weight. If I was a pound lighter, I wouldn't have been able to compete in the super heavyweight. Do you know what I mean?
Would you do a lot of cardio for the BKFC fight? Yeah.
Yeah, hell of a lot of cardio.
Would you reckon? How far would you actually run, and how often, mate? Like to get your cardio?
Well, believe it or not, I actually like running. I actually like running. When I do start running again, another obsession. I'm just running. I just put my headphones in and I'll run. When I was competing, I was doing about 50, 60 mile a week. You know, I was running 10 miles like pretty quick, to be fair, for my size, for my weight anyway.
So you've got a naturally good gas tank anyway.
Well, it's the way I fight, even against the bigger and heavier guys, it's sort of more tiring for them. You know, because I'm not a type of stepping side to side, moving, dancing. I'm not that type. I plant my feet, I walk forward, I have a little bit of a head flinch, and that's it. You know, I'm not taking a back step. So they've got to work hard to keep away from me. You know, or if they want to meet in the middle, then that's where I enjoy to be anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's kind of.
So as it currently stands, are you waiting to receive any offers from any fight shows, or are you going to ask to go on one, anything like that?
Am I fighting, sorry?
No comment.
No comment, she said.
Okay.
I have to. I don't know if the right money comes along and the right show and the right fight, you know, and the right money. I'm sure
big
money. Yeah.
What's the right money for Mrs. Venis, Paul?
100 grand.
No money in the world.
She said no money in the world. No money in the world.
Did you get stressed out on fight days when you were fighting? Some people get really fucking stressed out, don't they?
No, I do.
No, she did. Every fight that I've had, we've travelled, me and her, and 3 tournaments have travelled 5 hours down the road to do a fight. You know, can you imagine how she felt in a hostile territory where people are flinging pints over me and I'm there to fight their guy? Do you know what I mean? She's been there. She's been through all that. Do you know what I mean? She never missed a fight. How long have you been together, Paul? 14, 15?
Wow.
Since we were 14, kids. She's a lucky girl, I know. She's done well to keep holding me, like, to be fair. Let's not. No, but you've got to understand that's why I need because for a woman like that to stand by someone like me, you know, after the shit I've done and the bad shit that I've put her through, you know, for her to still be in my life now, you know, I'm a lucky guy, mate, to be fair, bro. And I don't want to sound like a soppy bastard, but that's why I need their blessings as well. You know, before I just make any choice to fight.
You should have ignored complete plonker rap. Well, sometimes it's hard though to ignore people that are fucking idiots.
Yeah, so it is hard. Sometimes it is hard, you know. But one of the things.
Right, Paul. I think we're going to wrap this up. Paul, thank you. This has been brilliant. I've been waiting for so long, man. Thank you for coming on.
No, it's absolutely awesome, man. Thanks for having us on, brother. It means a lot.
No worries. When you get a date on your fight, let us know if that's all right. We'll get you. If you have a fight, sorry. If the money's right.
Yeah.
Paul Venis, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Everyone
take care.
Big shout out to Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Don't forget to like.